Stations Bible Time!
Hello everyone, welcome to Action Stations Bible Time. Yeah, welcome! I'm Maynard. And I'm David. Yeah, they know that. They do. Hello Maynard. Hello David. Hello boys and girls! It's great to see you. And what do we think about last time, Maynard? Jesus told that great story, didn't he? About the seed and all the different kinds of soils. Yeah, about how different people respond to Jesus in different ways. Yeah, showing that Jesus is great. He's a great teacher. Yeah, so more about Jesus is great today, David. Yeah, today we're going to see Jesus is great. Well, let's find out in a minute. But first we're going to meet somebody. Yeah, he's a builder. And his name is Bob. Bob, here we go. Hello boys and girls. Nice to see you. My name's Bob. And I'm working here. I'm a builder, as you can see, and I'm just checking on a few things, make sure they get done properly. Now, anyway, I just wanted to have a word with you, just say hello, and just to explain that David, who's doing this assembly for you, he's a Christian, and he works at a Christian church, and he loves to tell people about Jesus. And it might be that you believe in Jesus, or maybe you don't. Now, it doesn't matter, just listen in. He's not going to force anything on you. You can just listen and see what you think. But remember, he's doing this because he loves Jesus and believes that he's God. And that's it. All right, boys and girls? I'll just finish checking these things. Maybe I'll see you again sometime. Bye-bye. Thanks, Bob. Now let's have our Bible story today. And it comes from Mark's Gospel. It's a story about Jesus and a big crowd.
The apostles gathered round Jesus and reported to him all they had done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that they did not even have a chance to eat, he said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So they went away by themselves in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. By this time it was late in the day, so his disciples came to him. "This is a remote place," they said, "and it's already very late. Send the people away so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat." But he answered, "You give them something to eat." They said to him, "That would take more than half a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" he asked. "Go and see." When they found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. Then Jesus told them to make all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So they sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to his disciples to distribute to the people. He also divided the 2 fish among them all. They all ate and were satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of the men who had eaten was 5,000.
That's a great story, isn't it? Now let's do something to help us think about it a bit more. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you the story again. And this time, boys, you, whenever I mention Jesus, you are going to wave your hands in the air. Okay? And girls, you're going to do the same. You're going to wave your hands in the air, but it's whenever I mention Jesus' disciples. Okay? Oh, by the way, disciples is a funny word, isn't it? It means followers. Someone who follows a teacher is a disciple. So Jesus was their teacher. We heard how good he was at teaching. And they're his disciples because they follow him. There we go. So when you hear, boys, if you hear Jesus, hands in the air, stop. Girls, if you hear disciples, hands in the air, stop. Okay? Here we go. The disciples, girls, did you wave? Gathered round Jesus, boys, waving, and reported to him all they'd done and taught. Then, because so many people were coming and going that the people didn't have a chance to eat, Jesus said to them, "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place and get some rest." So the disciples went away with Jesus in a boat to a solitary place. But many who saw them leaving recognized them and ran on foot from all the towns and got there ahead of them. When Jesus landed and saw a large crowd, he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. So he began teaching them many things. By this time it was late in the day. So his disciples, still waving, his disciples came to him. "This is a remote place," his disciples said, "and it's already very late. Send the people away so they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy something for themselves to eat." But Jesus, boys, that's you, answered, "You disciples give them something to eat." The disciples said to Jesus, "That would take more than half a year's wages. Are we to go and spend that much on bread and give it to them to eat?" "How many loaves do you have?" said Jesus. "Go and see." When the disciples found out, they said, 5 and 2 fish. Then Jesus told them to make all the people sit down in groups on the green grass. So the people sat down in groups of hundreds and fifties. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish and looking up to heaven, Jesus gave thanks and broke the loaves. Then he gave them to his disciples to distribute to the people. Jesus also divided the 2 fish among them all. Everyone ate, and they were all satisfied. And the disciples picked up 12 basketfuls of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of men who had eaten was 5,000. Wow, some great waving there. I hope you spotted them all. Hey, Maynard.
Hey, David.
Great to have you back.
Yeah, thanks. David, I was thinking, how did Jesus make so much bread?
How did Jesus make so much bread? It's what we call a miracle. It's a special thing that shouldn't really happen, but it did happen.
Wow, so they just had 5 loaves of bread, but then Jesus made loads and loads more.
Yeah, I don't know, it's an amazing thing. And Christians believe that shows us that Jesus is very powerful. In fact, so powerful, we think he's God.
Yeah. David, you make bread, don't you?
I make bread, yeah, at home.
But you're not God.
I'm not God. Should we see how I make bread?
Yeah, why don't we? Show us how you make bread, David.
There are all sorts of different kinds of bread. Perhaps you eat white bread that comes from a plastic bag and it's all nicely cut, or maybe flat bread. I'm going to make loaves like this. This is called sourdough bread. It's very nice and crunchy and lovely. To make bread, you need flour, water, salt and yeast. I'm going to use this, which is called wild yeast, and that's mixed up in flour. And it's nice and bubbly, and that's great because we want our bread to be nice and bubbly. Earlier on, I mixed up some flour and water and salt in my mixer. There they are. And now I'm going to add my bubbly wild yeast. That was good. Here it goes. Now I'm going to use the mixer to bash the dough around. When the flour and water is together, that's called dough. I could do this by hand, but it's much easier with the mixer. We start nice and slow. Now I'm going to make the mixer go a little bit faster to bash the dough more. We call that kneading the dough. Now I've put the dough, after all that bashing around in the mixer, in a tub. And we have to sit and wait for it to grow. Every so often I fold the bread, the dough, so that the bread at the end can get a nice shape. Well, it's been 6 or 7 hours and the dough has got a lot bigger and bubbly, and now I've got to put it into these baskets where it's going to stay overnight. There we go, I've shaped the dough. It's now in 2 little baskets and each one of these will be a loaf of bread, but have to go into the fridge overnight. Okay, the dough has been in the fridge overnight. It's grown a bit and now it's time to put it into the oven. Here we go. It goes in this casserole so that all the steam stays in there and helps it to make a nice bake. See how it's grown, and where I cut with a knife it's got a lovely split. I'm going to get one of the loaves out of the oven. Let's see what it's like. There we go, where are we? Looking good, I'm all steamed up, and we tap the bottom. See what it sounds like. There we go. Sounds hollow, that's good.
Wow, David, that looks like really yummy bread.
It is really yummy bread. But you took ages, David. Ages and ages. It probably takes over a day to make a loaf of bread that way.
Jesus didn't take a day, David. He just took a few minutes.
I know, it's amazing. And he didn't have an oven, didn't have a mixer. He just prayed and it happened.
Yeah, wow. That's why we think he's so great, David, because he's so powerful.
He's so powerful. That's why Christians believe Jesus is, well, actually, we believe he's God.
Yeah, Jesus is great because he's so powerful.
Yeah, wow. Oh, he's gone. We're going to sing a song now. It's called Click, He's the Image. It's from a Bible verse about Jesus, and it's as if you could take a photo of Jesus with a camera, you'd be taking an image, a picture of God himself. That's what Christians believe. Join in if you'd like to, and in a moment now the teacher will tell you whether you can sing or not, but I'm sure you'll be able to do the actions. So here's a bit of time for the teacher to tell you whether you can sing. Okay, here's the song.
Flash of the image, so click is the image. Flash
So we've had a story about Jesus feeding lots of people from just a few loaves and fish. And Jesus did that with his great power. And Christians believe that's because he's great, he's powerful, and we believe that's because he's God on earth. Thanks for joining in, boys and girls. See you next time. Bye.
Action Stations Bottle Time.